So welcome back to Space Engineers and our walkthrough here. The last episode we went through and created a bit of a starter base. We went ahead and got some resources, collected some resources, was able to move around some of the items from the survival drop pod and create a bit of a starter base. However, when we started out here, we ran into a problem where when we tried to recharge, we were running out of power. So one of the things we're going to have to do today is we're going to have to add some more power. So we'll probably have to add some more wind turbines. And now that we've got everything here, we can go ahead and we can basically destroy, or reclaim rather, our ship, our drop pod. There's no point in having it there anymore. It's got some nice resources on it. We'll go ahead and steal them and bring them back over here, use them to bring some build some of the items that we need. So let's get started here. Let's get our grinder out. Let's first go through and see. I think we got everything right. Let's see here. Check the inventory. We have those. We don't need those. There's nothing else here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and start pulling some things off here. Now, we don't need to go through and get everything off right now. We'll just pull off some of the bigger pieces. And, let's go ahead and steal those. Let's let that be, actually. Okay. Pieces are already free anyway. Now that we got some of those resources, let's go ahead and expand our footprint here a little. Now, there does have to be some space, like we said. They've got to be up a bit, and they've got to be apart a bit. For right now, I think the consensus was, we had a bit of a talk. I'm probably going to have another video that just kind of does a little investigated into some of the mechanics of certain things, and it sounds like one of which is probably going to be the wind turbines and the spacing, because it's not anything that's tricky, but it's something that, you know, when you first start looking at it, it does affect. Like if I put one right here, they'll both work, and that's fine, but they will actually have a bit of a degraded performance. So I think, what do we have these? 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and build up for 4. And let's go ahead and see. Let's build another turbine. Do we have oh, I don't want to place it. Yeah, we don't have enough stuff. So let's queue things to build the turbine. Let's see if we can. Wrong button there. There we go. We can start building it. We don't have anywhere near the stuff we need. Oh boy. Don't want to go doing that. There we go. Alright, sunlight's starting. That's good. It is a good sign. What do we need? We need 3 more motors, a couple more interior plates, some girders. Alright, so let's take a look here and see. It looks like we need some nickel, iron. Oh yeah, it looks like we're a little short overall, so let's go ahead and go grab some resources from our mining pit here. So we'll go ahead and grab this and then go back over there, drop it into the refinery. Might have to repeat that a few cycles just to go through and get enough resources, so we'll do that and get back to it. Okay, so I believe we've got all the items we need to build this, so let's see. Yeah, we've got all the items. So let's get this built. And there we go. We've now got more power. So now if I go over here, there we go. Now when I recharge, we don't use up all the power, so that's good. That's a plus. Okay. So there we go. So that's our first hurdle. And the next thing is that, well, we're not using all of our assemblers and our refinery and everything that uses power all at once. We're generating power that's, you know, not really going anywhere. So let's see. I don't know if we have all the components that would require us to, I don't know if we have the ability to build all the components we need to build a battery. So let's look. So if I go in here and I say I want to build a battery. Now we have some bigger ones in here. We have some large battery banks that you know, require some pretty hefty things. Regular battery just requires computer power cells, construction components, steel plates. These bigger ones require superconductors. Superconductors require gold, which means we're not going to be able to build them. It also needs metal grid, which requires cobalt, which we have access to. We know, we can see there's some right over there somewhere. Yeah, right there, cobalt. But we haven't mined it yet. So, and those are pretty much overkill for running the little 2 wind generators we got here. So let's go ahead and see if we can queue up the items we need to build battery. Let's see here. So we got our battery. Okay, so it's doing its thing. Let's go here and look at the production. Is there anything? The cells, silicon wafers, nickel ingot. Now we should have the items for those. I believe we have silicon and nickel. We're out of iron again. Let's look here. Okay, so we've got a bunch of items here. Like these large steel tubes, we're not going to need these. We've got a lot of steel plate, but that's fine because we're going to use steel plate. We needed the construction components. So what we can do is, we don't need these to build the batteries. I think it was extra because I may have accidentally told it to queue another wind turbine by accident, so it started building a bunch of things. So in fact, we're going to clear all this out. Just right click each item and it'll clear it. So the other thing we can do is we can actually disassemble things. So you'll see we've got this assembling, disassembling. Let's say disassemble, and I'm going to say I want you to disassemble those. And what you could do is, you can see it's pretty quick, but it breaks it into its individual components. So like if I click one of these, you'll see real quick it, you know, turns it back into iron. So now if I go in here and I tell this to queue up a battery, you'll see that if we go in here, yeah, we've got more of the items needed to be able to do this. What are we missing? Silicon and nickel. Nickel. We have silicon and nickel, right? I've already gone through this and I can't remember already. Don't get old, folks. It happens. Yeah, silicon and nickel. So we've got silicon and nickel. Maybe we don't have enough. Let's see here. Let's move all this down here just to see. I know we're low on iron and that's what's holding it up, but do we have... Yeah, we've got enough silicon and nickel to build these items. We need 27, 53, we got a ton. So iron's the holdup, as usual. So let's go over... I don't want to build our battery. So we'll go back and grab some more resources and then get back to it. You know, one of the other things we could do is... I stopped, but I can actually go through and reclaim the steel plate from a lot of this too. Now the thing is this has a big honking battery on it, and I'd love to just kind of grind this down and take the things, but the problem is if I grind down the battery, even though it has power cells in it, I can't recover them. When you grind the power cells, it turns them into scrap metal. So you know, it's not really a one-to-one. I don't get the power cells. Now I'm gonna go through and do it anyway, just because there's no point in having this here any longer. Go ahead and do that and grab it. And grab some more of this stuff here. Might as well while I'm here. But that'll at least give us most of the other components that we need to build that battery. Not all of them, because this is a small grid battery versus a large grid battery, but this is going to fall when I do that. Beacon. Grinding away here. I have to grind my way out, actually. I'm wearing it like a hat. Now, this may have changed. I've been playing multiplayer a lot recently. But one of the things that happens is that if a grid, any of these items, any ship or anything like that, is a grid, right? So the station I've got over there is a grid. This is a grid. If I put a docking connector, which we will eventually, we'll get into that eventually. If I were to put a docking connector there and you know, this were my ship and I dock it to there, it basically becomes one grid temporarily until I undock the connector and take off again, and they're separate grids. But anyhow, grids. The reason I was bringing that up is because in single player, I'm not exactly sure what the rules exactly are, but the gist of it is that in single player, the game does a lot of cleanup. Depending upon server settings on the multiplayer servers, it'll do it as well. It does a lot of cleanup. So it's really just me rambling a long way to say that if a grid is unpowered, like right now this has no battery, it's got no power, anything. If I walk a good distance away from this, now it depends on the server settings, what have you. If I walk away from this, the game cleanup mechanism can, depending upon the settings, like I said, despawn all of these blocks. So I definitely, now that I've started and I've taken the battery, I definitely want to make sure I get all these resources, because I'd rather them go in my pocket and go towards building something else I'm going to build, rather than, you know, going through and, you know, just being lost. Now, you know, with this, no big deal. You know, if I lost it, I'd lose some resources. But say I had a giant ship, say I forgot to put a battery on it, or I forgot to put some power source on it, or I had solar cells and the battery's dead, or something happened and the battery got damaged. Let's actually get this first, because that's probably the most valuable thing there. Okay. Let's say that got damaged. The battery got damaged. The ship has no power. Well, I've got a problem. If there's no power source or anything, that thing is at risk of despawning. And you don't want to, especially, you know, you see how long it takes to destruct this. It's fairly quick to just sit here and destruct things. When you get into some of these bigger builds, and, you know, it takes a good amount of time to build something and engineer it, and sit here and, you know, you put a lot of time into these creations sometimes. And it's brutal if you just kind of lose that. I've had it happen. It sucks. I've spent hours building something only to realize I messed something up. Something wasn't getting power, or, you know, something got damaged and there was no more battery, or, you know, heaven forbid that, you know, you accidentally drive it into something and crack it in half, because I wouldn't speak from experience. I don't know what that would be about at all, actually. But the gist of it is, I've lost grids that have despawned because of the built-in cleanup settings. So keep it in mind. It sucks. And always make sure you've got power to your grids. And, you know, that'll make sure that they don't despawn. The other option that you have is, you know, if you're playing single player, just change those settings of the server. As long as your computer can handle running everything, I mean, you could change the way that it goes ahead and despawns items. You know, and give yourself a little more leniency on that. But like I said, my suggestion is always just kind of keep it in the back of your mind that, hey, this grid has to have power, or else you might lose it. There's a good chance you could lose it. So there we go. We got all our stuff in there. Where were we? We were trying to create a battery. So let's see where we are with that. Do we have... Yeah, we need a lot of storage cells. Okay. Right. Oh boy, now that I don't have the respawn pod here, it's a little harder to find where the mine is, but we got our little marker there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some resources, and while I'm doing this, you know, we'll come back, and once we get our resources for a battery, we'll plunk our battery down, build it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so okay, it looks like we might have enough. Oh boy, looks like we might have enough to build our battery. Let's go ahead, and we have at least enough to get started. So let's go ahead and drop it here, and let's get started. Looks like we're one power cell short, huh? All right, let's one power cell, a bunch of computers. So let's go in here. We need one power cell, and we needed like 25 computers total. Where do we get our computers? There we go. Not sure what happened there. Not sure how we ended up one short. But we will go to inventory. We will... And we had the computers. And I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, we'll finish building this. And now we've got our battery. And as you can see, I mentioned it in the first episode, but I didn't really, I don't think, get into the details. There's a progression structure. So you'll notice it said after I built the battery, new blocks are available. If I go in here, you notice that I've been pulling up this screen every once in a while. So this screen, it's I think it's default, it's G, at least on my computer. I believe that's the default key binding. if I go in here, you can see the amount of, not the amount, but the blocks available to go ahead and build. You've got, you know, all these things in here. There's certain things that are there, certain things that aren't. Everything's there, but I don't think those are available yet. I don't think I can build those. But you can see there's progression, right? Okay. So you'll notice there's like tiers here, and basically what this is saying is that once I build a basic assembler, these blocks become available. I can build an interior turret, I can build a spotlight, I can build a medical room, I can build a dispenser. Well, of course, if I have all the items available to be able to do so. And you'll notice like here, this is grayed out because I've built interior lights. You remember in the first episode I put some lights up there because it was getting too dark. So I can now build a sound block. However, I didn't build a sound block yet, and I probably won't for a while. So because I didn't build the sound block, the jukebox is not available. Right? Same thing here. I didn't build an assembler. I have basic assemblers. I didn't build the assembler yet. So because I don't have the assembler, I can't build these modules down here. So there's a core progression. You see there's actually a fair bit that I haven't unlocked yet, but you know, that's understandable. We just started the game basically. So it'll take a little while for us to get everything unlocked and start. As we get through the game, we'll start building some of these pretty cool things. Things that we need, like, you know, we built the O2H2 generator, so now we can build a hydrogen engine. Hydrogen engine, of course, as it says there, it converts hydrogen into electricity. So gives us more options for generating power from ice. We build. You can build a hydrogen tank. You can build a small hydrogen tank, and then eventually we can build large and regular-sized hydrogen thrusters so that we can get our ships propelled out into space. So there's a number of things you can do here. We've got a long way to go. We can build conveyors so that we can pipe items around. I talked about that before in that, you know, right now we've got some of these things are connected just because the faces are touching each other, but, you know, eventually I may want, you know, I may want like this assembler and refinery, basic assembler, to connect to this part over here, the H2O and the hydrogen oxygen generator and the survival kit. They're not touching, so how do I do that? Well, I've got to go over here. I'm gonna have to remove this block here, and well, I'm not gonna be able to because you notice that side doesn't have a conveyor. But if it did, or I wanted to add a hydrogen tank over here or something of the like, either way, I would add a conveyor. There's a couple different kinds. There's a conveyor block, which is airtight. There are conveyor tubes, which are not airtight. Airtightness is a big deal, not so much here in bases, but of course when you get out into space, you definitely want, you know, airtightness is a factor. You don't want all your precious oxygen to be jetted out into space, leaving it very hard to breathe. That guy is a little close. So there are enemies in this game. I'm hoping that, you know, just starting out, they're not going to pick a fight with us, so we'll see what happens. There are ways around it, because, you know, we are doing a single-player game, so you can cheat a little if you need to, especially if you're starting out. It can be pretty brutal if you just happen to be in a flight path like that, and they decide to be jerks about it and come down and kind of scoot all your stuff. However, that's a Sky Factory. I don't think that's really going to give us any trouble. So some games I've played, you know, we played a long time before anything happens. But however, if you are a single player and you just want to break, you don't want them to kind of beat up all your stuff right at the beginning, you can go in the admin tools. We can see that Alt F10, if we press Alt F10, we've got admin tools. And you know, some of the things are like you can make yourself invulnerable, you can make yourself untargetable, stuff like that. Which, you know, that kind of stuff is cheating. Well, it's up to you. Like I said before, like with the mods, it's how you want to play the game. If you want to focus on things at the beginning and you don't feel like, you know, spending hours of work, you're trying to figure out the game just to have everything constantly blown up, do what you want. You can go in here and create a safe zone, is what I'm getting at. And this safe zone when you created an admin safe zone, it's spaced around you. But you can see here, like you can say, you know, no damage allowed, no shooting, no drilling, you know, stuff like that. So we're not going to do that right now. If we started getting lit up by things, we may, if the need arises. But for now, we're doing okay, and we're going to be pretty peaceful about things. So what's next? All right, we got our 2 wind turbines. We've got nothing really going right now. We've got a little bit of our base. There's a couple things we're going to want to do. We've got our battery, and our battery's charging along. We can go over here. We can take a look at this. We can see that we are... this particular type of battery has a max output of 12 megawatts. It can take at most 12 megawatts in. It can store 3 megawatt hours. We're currently inputting 657 kilowatts thanks to our wind turbines. We're outputting 18.12 kilowatts, you know, just the survival kit, the H2O2 or O2H2 generator. Everything running over here is just only using 18 kilowatts. I'm sure that will go through the roof once we start kicking in our assembler and refinery. And you can see here we're storing power because we've got an obviously net input, net gain. And that if we continue doing this with the current power usage and drain, that will be recharged in 3 hours. Good to go. So we've got a little bit of a buffer. When we build our base out a little, we've got a little bit of buffer of power. Will be pretty good. So we've got a couple bottlenecks. One of which is that every time we want to build something, I gotta go running my butt over there and dig in the hole. Now, I mean, I don't have to run over there. I could go over here, I could go over there, but at the end of the day, I'm still one guy with a drill. It takes a while to mine the materials, bring it back. It can take a while. So one of the things we want to do on our list is to build a drill. Now, we have the vanilla drills in game, big mechanical versions of the one I've got, and then one of the mods we've got are nano drills, which are pretty fun. You can go in and build them and do a bunch of things. However, I don't know. Let us take a look. I'm not sure if we have them unlocked yet, so let's take a look. I believe it is called Nanobot Drill and Fill. Nanobots Drill and Fill. Where is it? Nanobot. Nanobot. Hold on, let me take a look here. Where we got? It's called the drill system. Well then, I believe the mod. Yeah, that is always slightly confusing. I believe the mod itself is called Nanobots Drill and Fill, and it's part of one of the other mods I'm going to get into in a little while, or talk about in a second. And the Nanobots Build and Repair System. Hi, this is Future Editing Mike, and these two mods are not the same mod. They're not different parts of the same mod. They're two complementary mods that are standalone. You can have one without the other. You can have the Build and Repair, or you can have the Drill System, or you can have both. They're written by the same author. So, and don't worry, the people responsible have been severely beaten for this mistake. So both of those are pretty handy. To build this, we need to be able to build a basic refinery. We've got one built, so these are unlocked. You can see we've got an ore detector. We've got the regular vanilla drills, which the vanilla drills need to be in contact with the ground. So I can't just build one and carry it around. I've got to have it on a vehicle. I've got to have it on a ship. You know, or I can create a giant land drill with pistons and rotors and everything else, and we'll do that. We'll get into it. It's pretty fun to do. But for now, I really just need to get some stuff mined. So let's see what we need here. Is there anything exotic? No, we need motors, computers, large steel tube, small steel tube, interior plate construction components, and steel plate. I believe all of that is within our capability to build with our basic assembler. So we're going to want to build one of these. Now, our power usage is probably going to be pretty high, so it's a good thing we got that battery. But if it keeps me from having to run around, this is going to be a pretty nice little thing to start with. Now, that's one thing. The other, as I said, the other thing we've got going on here, so that would handle our getting our resources. The other thing we've got here is we've got a lot of these blocks here that just aren't finished, right? You know, I can go over here and I can weld these. I've got the components on me. It takes some time. I've got a lot of these, and we're going to have a lot more. So, one of the other mods we had that I had mentioned before is the Nanobot build and repair system. And the Nanobot build and repair system is kind of what it sounds like. Just like the drill and fill, we'll go through and mine resources from the ground. The build and repair system will use nanobots to go ahead and build things. It can do a number of things, actually. It can build and repair. Imagine that. It's the build and repair system. It's a lot more complicated than that, too. So it can basically do everything I can do except drill. It can weld things, and it can grind things. So you can actually go in and... I'll go into detail after we build it, because it does a lot of things, but the key things are that if I place this down and give it the materials that it needs to build what needs to be built, so, you know, right now I give it a bunch of steel plates, it'll go through and start welding all these blocks together and finishing them for me. If I place something else down, it'll go through and start building it for me, as long as it's got all the components. So, big help. The other thing is that, say I decided that, oh, you know, I don't want this piece out here any longer. I want to send the base out this way. I want to put a landing platform over here. Whatever. I don't want that there anymore. Well, I can grind it down myself. Or I can go through and there are paint colors. We haven't gotten into this, but the gist of it is that I can go through and mark these blocks, basically, for deletion. And the build and repair system will go through and grind all that down, and then I don't have to be sticking around to do it. It'll just do it, and then, you know, use those resources elsewhere. The other nice thing is, too, like I said, there is combat in the game, and eventually we will get into that. I'm sure we will, because you can't get away from it if you try. But it is a fun aspect in the game, although it can be annoying sometimes. However, eventually these ships will come and attack you. And hopefully you have everything fortified enough so that you can go through and defend your base. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have a whole bunch of ships falling on you. You're going to have ships in your area. You're going to have all these things, just like we had the respawn pod. We're going to have all these things that we're going to need to grind down. Well, beautiful thing is, and there's a number of options to how this does it, the build and repair system will automatically, as long as it's within range of it, start grinding that stuff down for you. You can go over and, like I said, you forcefully mark it for deletion. There's a couple other neat settings too. One of the mods I have in here are basically ownership of a grid or a ship is dependent upon basically who builds it. One of the mods I have is Easy NPC Takeover mod. And while I don't have all the details of it off the top of my head, basically what it means is that if there are flight components, like a flight seat, or a remote control apparatus, or a number of other items that are considered, we'll get into that a lot later probably, but those things designate kind of control of the ship. And what the Easy NPC Takeover mod allows you to do is go through and take, if you can take ownership of those items, then you can take over control of the ship. It becomes yours. And that's awesome. That means, like, you know, if you have a ship, it gets taken down, you could go through and just grind a couple things, build them back up, and then poof, it's your ship. It's a bonus. I don't think we covered this in the first one, but you'll notice when we build, there's a functional hack line. And if this item were not mine and I wanted to take it over, I would grind it down to the point where it's past the hack line. So let's go do that real quick. Okay, so now you'll see, oh, it's hackable. So now if I go back and rebuild it, well, that item is now mine. So that's how you kind of take over an item. So why am I going into this and rambling? Well, A, I ramble a lot, so get used to it. If you haven't figured that out by now, I got news for you. So, with that said, you can configure the build and repair system to go ahead and grind to hack. And what that does is, when you tell it to grind to hack, if an enemy ship comes into your area, into the area or the radius of the build and repair system, it can grind all those control blocks down. And then all of a sudden, they're not owned by the opponent any longer. So the build and repair system can go ahead, as long as you have the settings right, and build those back up and repair them. So it instantly grinds it down to hack, and then will automatically build it back up. So it will automatically take over the ship for you as long as it's within range. So that's an interesting mechanic. I don't know how I feel about that. Single player, I probably feel like it's a little... I probably like it a little better than multiplayer. Multiplayer, it's kind of fun to go in and take over ships, although I had fun with doing that in multiplayer as well. But, however, I've been sitting here gibbering. Let's go ahead and see what it takes to do the build and repair and the drill. So, considering we're going to need a lot of resources, I think our better bet is probably to build the drill first. Now the question is, where are we going to put it? I guess we can put it here, because if we put it here, we can connect it into the refinery, and then all these will be connected, and it'll just feed all the resources directly in. So, let's go ahead in here. Now we know it was called drill system. I'll forget that later. You can see we've also got these big honkin' drills. These things are just a ridiculous mod. It's really, not that it's a bad mod or anything, it's an awesome mod. But you can see the resources these things take. It takes 22,000 steel plate. There's a reason for that. These things are gigantic. They're gigantic. They're bigger than this entire base is right here together, I think. All you know, the space I've got of it here. Not that this is a huge base. Believe me, it is a very small base, but for one block to be that large is just, it's just mind-boggling. So we'll get into those eventually, once we're to the point where we can build those. They're really fun too. So let's go ahead and do the drill system. Let's go ahead and, let's see here. Let's rotate this a little. Now, the thing is, these, they do have a thing on the back. You can also kind of see, yeah, you can kind of make it out there. You see how it says left, right. There are, on the other sides, yeah, see, this side says up. So we want to make sure that's up. We've got our left, right, and then we are going to place that there. So now, let's weld this up. We're going to have a problem, though, because we need to get the components we need to build this. So let's, don't think, what do we need? Construction components, we need small steel tubes, large steel tubes, and computers. Let's, queue that. Yeah, unable to place. There we go, let's queue that. Let's queue that, and let's get things rolling here. I think I'm probably, surprise, surprise, gonna have to go get resources. Yeah, look, we're almost out. Yep, there we go. We're gonna need a lot of iron. Okay, so let me do that. I'm gonna go over here to my drilling hole and grab some more resources, and we'll continue then. I think, what do we have? We still need
energy low.
Well, we're out of energy. We need energy, so let's go ahead and over here and recharge real quick. Looks like we still need a couple large steel tubes. Let's see if we've got the resources to go ahead and build those, or if they're in the queue. What is our status here? What do we got? If I go in here. Yeah, I don't have any. And then I don't have any on me. So let's go ahead and tell this we need 8, but I'm gonna go ahead and just tell it 10. Oh, actually, there's a few in there already. Go ahead and do that. And then we'll make a final trip over here. Run and grab some. Do. Okay. Production. Okay, I think we've got all of the components. Yeah, I think that was the last thing we needed. So let's put this on here and weld it. And we can fire up our drill system, and then we are free from the tyranny of having to go and mine ore ourselves for now. Alright, so we got this thing going. Let's fire it up. Looks awesome. Looks like it's going to shoot a laser out the front here and just devour everything. It's great. So how the hell we use this, right? So I'm going to go here on the top because I want to continue mining over in that area. So I want to be able to see. I want to be able to see what I'm doing here. So let's crouch down here. And why I'm doing this, you'll see in a second. Okay, so now we've got our drill system. It's off. You notice it's turned off here. We've got a crap ton of options here. What the hell does all this mean, right? Okay. So here it is in a nutshell. The drill and fill has 3 modes. Obviously, it has a drill and a fill mode. That's pretty obvious from the damn name. However, there's a collect mode. Okay, so this took me a little while to figure out, and it frustrated the living hell out of me until I actually sat down and, you know, read the documentation, which you should always do. However, basically, fill is pretty obvious. We'll get into that in a second. The difference between collect and drill, right? So you go down here, by default it's drill, you see all this stuff here, and you say, oh man, I want to go after cobalt, so I'm going to go ahead and disable all these other things. And then you get a whole bunch of stone, and you don't understand why, and it's just clearing out an area. Because drill works like the vanilla drill, okay? And I know we haven't set up one of the vanilla drills, but the way the vanilla drill works is, it's like a drill in real life, and like the one that I have on the toolbar, I have to go to the material to get to it. So like the cobalt that's over here to our left, if I want to drill and mine that cobalt, I've got to go through all the stone that's between me and the cobalt, and I have to collect it all or throw it away. So that's the difference. Drill works like the vanilla drill. It will just clear out all the items. None of this does anything. This entire section right here does nothing. It's kind of misleading, especially considering it says settings for drilling. I would, if the mod maker were watching this, and maybe they already have corrected this, one minor suggestion I would have for them, which I doubt they're ever going to watch any of my videos, but however, if they ever do, one of these days when I'm making millions of dollars off my YouTube, maybe I'll be popular enough for someone to do that. However, not that time. Like and subscribe. My suggestion would actually be please change this so it says settings for collect mode, because all of this only works if you're in collect. It has nothing to do with drill. So now that if I said collect and I deselect everything but cobalt, it's not going to pick anything out but cobalt. It will cherry pick in the ground, as long as it's within range, all of the cobalt and drill it for me, which is awesome. That's really awesome. So yeah, that's one thing that's kind of confusing about this mod. But anyhow, so we've got that. So now we want to do drill mode though, because we just want stone for now. You know, we'll eventually get to the point where we need cobalt and all that, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then obviously the other thing, see, and this is where it's kind of confusing, because you've got collect, drill, and fill, and then you've got the like I said, settings for drilling, settings for filling, and then you got settings for collecting. And these, I understand these, but this, I don't understand why this only applies in collect. It's not clear in the UI, I guess. It's a bit of a caveat. And of course we've got all these options here: horizontal offset, vertical offset, forward offset, area width, blah blah blah. Those will become very apparent in 1 second. So anyway, let me get back to it. The third mode, fill. I can go through here and I can show the bounding box. So let me jump ahead 1 second. Let's jump ahead and let me do this. Show area. And look what happened. I got this giant grid around me. So what this is saying, because this is centered on the drill, what this is saying is if I turn this on right now, it's going to drill out everything in this bounding box, and of course we'd fall to the ground endlessly and things would be bad. But this also gives you an idea, like when I tell this fill, it will fill this entire area as long as it's got the material to do so. So if I go in here and I tell this to fill and I were to turn it on and it had stone, because it's set to stone right now, I can change it to anything. I can say rock, I can say snow, I can say Triton blend, which I don't even know what the hell that is, to be honest. It would fill this entire area slowly as long as it had the material with that item. So it's kind of neat if you wanted to like build something that was like, I don't know, encased in rock or something. I guess if you were going for that aesthetic or whatever. Personally, I've not used fill yet. I understand how it could be useful, but you know, it's the way I do the gameplay. I just haven't done that yet. So anyway, now that I've blabbed on long enough about the drill and the fill and the settings and everything else, and I've shown you the area, let's get down to business and get to drilling. These are a little touchy. Now, any of these boxes or sliders in most of the sliders, I take that back. Most of the sliders in Space Engineers can be tweaked. If you hold down Control and you click the button, you can go ahead and type a number manually in here. So let's reset that to 0. Okay. So if we move this a little, you can see horizontal offset. Let's set it to 0. We look at this. Let's go ahead and change our horizontal offset to where is it? Let's change our horizontal offset to 50. You can see, oh my goodness, it shoved that way. So that's what we wanted. Okay. So horizontal is going to move it left, right. Vertical, I'm guessing, is up and down, I think, if I remember correctly. I remember my axes from middle school and high school math and all that jazz. And then forward offset is, you know, from front to back, you know, to the left here, front back, you know, how we want to do this. And then, of course, you have your area width and height. To adjust, you know, how wide this is. So let's go ahead and say it's like a 1 meter square here. And you can see somewhere over there, somewhere should be a little 1 meter square. I guess that was kind of dumb. Kind of a little small. Let's change this. Let's make it 10 by 10 by 10. There we go, now we can see that. Okay, so we're a little closer to where our mine was. Let's actually see how close we are. We're gonna move it a little closer to us, and we'll move it over there. But, you know, that'll get us started. Let's, yeah, that'll... My aim's a little off here. Let's crouch down here so we can see. Alright, let's say that was 50. Let's try 40. That's probably a little too close. Let's go with 45. And then we need to move forward about, oh, I don't know, 20? Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Alright, so, now, we've got all this set. We've got it on drill mode just because, you know, we want to rip everything out. It's fine. I'm going to leave the area on just so it's easy to see. And then we're going to turn that bad boy on. Now, you can hear it starting. If I look over here, we can see it's drilling stone. Here's all the items it's got to collect. I haven't played around with it, but that's where all these settings kind of go. Collect only vital, show area, stuff like that. This is kind of neat too. You can control the show area, you control working, and basically what it is you can see the little hover text here. What this does is selective show area is active as long as characters are equipped with a hand drill. So what this will do is if I go here and I click my name, and then I click show area and click control working, when I pull my drill out, you'll see the area around me, and what it'll do is it'll center on me. And then if I had like remote control set up for the base, I could turn this on, move to where I want to go, figure out where that needs to be, turn it off, and then, you know, do things that way. Now the other thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this down. It's very loud, so we'll give it a little bit of a noise so we know it's working, but it can be very loud. Now unfortunately I've been blabbing a lot, and because I did, the sun's gone. But you can come over here and you can see, because this is a small area, it started ripping this apart. And so there we go. We've got our drill going. We've got our nano drill going. It's pulling in material. You can see the little happy nanites going through. This indicator on the top kind of tells you what's going on. I don't remember. I've got to go read the manual for it. This is a great FAQ, isn't it? This is a great walkthrough because I don't know anything. I've actually not played with this mod too much. I just recently put it in multiplayer and just played around with it, so it is kind of new to me. But these, you can see that change from yellow to red, you know, from yellow to black, and then there's a green. This means something, and it probably means that it might actually be... It might be that it's full. Yeah, see, there's still items. No, there's no items to drill. Yeah, it might be that that area is already actually... Yeah, looks like it. It looks like this area is already mined. Yeah, and we've got all this stuff here because we can't pick it up. Because I believe the inventory in the unit is full already. So that is awesome. That kind of saved us a lot of having to go back and forth. You know how long it would have taken to do that? That would have taken a while. Believe me. You saw how much I've been going back and forth. And I was only putting that little dent in the hill. So that's huge. That's great. So now we've got our drill. We've got 190k in there. We got our refiner in. And we're good to go. So let's... next time we come back, we'll tinker around with playing around with the building repair system, and we've got resources coming into the base, so you know, we've got things going there. So that's a huge help. That will get us going. We'll get the build and repair. We'll expand our base. We'll add some solar, probably. Play around maybe when we add with the solar. Maybe we'll play around with some of the programmable blocks. Get into that in a bit, because there are a lot of useful scripts that are out there on the Steam Workshop. One of which that I could think of, especially with the solar panels, is a script that will go through. You add rotors, and you can actually have like real life solar. I forget what they're called, but they're solar arrays, and you can use rotors, like 2 rotors, like one on the top, one on the sides, And basically the gist of it is that it will adjust your solar panels so that they're always tracking the sun, so they always get the most sun during the day and you make the most power available. So that's kind of cool. We'll play around with that, and then there's a lot of things to get to. We're just scratching the surface. So thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and see you next time.